Hello, literature lovers. Today I am going to discuss a very basic thing. It is quite usual that sometimes we study a big detail and we are quite aware of it, but we forget some of the basic things. And it is important to revive your basics because without the basic knowledge of literature, it is almost impossible to get a better understanding of much more complex works. So, starting with novel and how the formation is, how big things can be, there's a big bifurcation is given, and these are some of the examples of very well-known works, maybe Morte d'Arte or Don Quixote, a very lengthy work. It's another very famous work, Pamela, Virtue Rewarded. There's a list of novels and very well work, and all of them are very legendary. And I have discussed one of almost all of them in my previous audios. Go through it. And when we talk about novel, and can be a fixed definition, but to get a better understanding, it is obviously quite different from a short story. It is different from history too. So, what is the difference? For to get a better understanding of it, we must go through the elements of the novel. Yes, it has characters, it has a setting. When you talk about the plot, we can say first we do the exposition, all characters get exposed. Then there is a rise of action, and when we reach to the pinnacle of the climax, then there is fall of action, then the announcement is there, and all the things get settled up. Another very important thing is the dialogue. Although dialogue is quite restricted to the play, but there are is dialogues in novel also. When we talk about point of view, it's also a very important thing that from which perspective we are looking at in a particular work, novel. Symbols are really good and they really give a clearer picture. Themes are there, and now comes another very important question which not much people are aware of, that is the uses of novel. What's the purpose? Yeah, it helps in getting a better interpretation of life. It entertains us also, no doubt about it. Sometimes they portray a propaganda, and that is also another thing that is seen. Obviously, you have to give a better understanding of language, you sometimes get a new thought. It is an expression of the spirit of its age. We can get a clearer picture. Here it also talks about lifestyle, taste, no doubt about it. Now, when we talk about it in detail, what kind you can be. Allegorical is another type, and you can go through it in the symbolical way, but much more animated version. It's a very good example of allegories. Pilgrim's Progress, one of my personal favorite. Go through it, it's really work. Comic is since very good, and it really gives you a better understanding. Vanity Fair is also one of the legendary work by William Thackeray, and you should work for in the genre of comedy. Epistolary is quite interesting. I really like it. It means it's in a letter form, and you will get through it. Pamela is the great example of epistolary novel. Feminist is quite a likable work, and it is discussed. A Room of One's Own is a great work, such admirable. It's a masterpiece in feminist literature. Gothic is quite lovable, and we cannot forget the horror and how romance is mingled. And no doubt, Frankenstein is one of the most loved Gothic novel in the world. Now comes magic realism. Sometimes we misunderstand it, but it is quite a mingling of magic and reality in such a beautiful way, and no doubt the legendary work Midnight Children is the best example for it. although there are other works also. When we talk about realism, it's as the name suggests, reality is there. And now comes the romance. Picaresque, this is quite a complex thing, and I never understood it on the first time too. And satire is no doubt talking about the politics or the society, and the evils are being shown. And now comes the mingling of all of them in the great work Animal Farm. I have discussed this earlier in detail. You can go through that, and this is my personal favorite. Now comes the ending of it, that it should contain literary devices, methods, motives, all of them should be there, and they are appreciated in the novel. Some you can have a backstory, there can be flashbacks related to it. It really spices the novel, really. There can be a flash forward. You can sometimes skip some of the events in the novel. There are foreshadowing, sometimes hitting the events to occur later, and you can mix the events sequence by that. There are plot twists, that's the most lovable thing in the novel. Poetic justice should be there, and how things should be in a correct ironical twist manner. It's really likable. Prophecies are part of it, although it's quite in the early age nowadays, not much relevant. And there can be a side story, may not be a side story, but I personally believe that side stories sometimes distract you. And do share your opinion with us in the comment section. Thanks for being part of it. Thank you.